Everybody remembers about a year or so ago, maybe slightly less, the Windrush scandal came into our sights for the first time. Amber Rudd, the Home Secretary, was forced to resign her position because she got some information wrong. She was badly advised. She talks about things that turned out not to be true. And in fact, it became very, very clear that the government had made a complete pig's breakfast, dog's breakfast, pig's ear, whatever you want to say, about the deportation of people who should have had every single right that they have to live in this country for the rest of their lives. It was clear that many people suffered very, very badly. It was clear that there were some terrible decisions made by the Home Office, and it was very clear as well that they were not particularly good at cleaning up the mess afterwards. However, what we are dealing with today, in my view, is something completely different. And we're going to talk now to Karen Doyle from Movement for Justice by Any Means Necessary, which is a non-profit organisation fighting to build what they regard as a new Britain. Very good morning to you, Karen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for talking to us. How is this in any way comparable to Windrush, please? Could you explain that to me?
I've been talking to 26 people who are at risk of removal on the flight today. Of those 26 people, 18 have a connection to the Windrush generation. For example, one young man, his grandmother, who worked in the care sector her whole life, came over as part of the Windrush generation. Managed to save up enough money to bring him here when he was 4 years old, and then a few years later brought her daughter here, her only child and her only grandchild. And she worked her whole life to do that. And her son went through the school system here, primary, secondary, college. He was of this country. In 2013, his nan died, and he grieved. And he got into some trouble, his first conviction, his first offence. And
what did he do?
He's now facing deportation. He got into a fight.
Right.
He got into a fight.
And he was in jail.
Yes, he served his sentence. He served his sentence and he came out and he went through restorative justice programs and probation. Another man.
Well, it must have been quite a serious fight, though, mustn't it? If he got sent to prison for it.
No.
So what was he charged with?
How many people in your life do you know that have drunken fights?
Hardly anyone.
Deported
in fact, I don't know anyone that's ever gone to jail.
I don't know where you're living.
Well, I don't know anyone that's ever gone to jail for getting into a what you call a drunken fight.
Well, that's a really interesting question, because the Lammy review found that there's a massive disproportionality in how black people are treated in the criminal justice system.
Very many different things here, Karen.
Larger than in the US.
Yeah, but you're arguing many different things here, Karen. My question to you... Excuse me, Karen, can you let me speak, please? My original question to you is, how is this in any way related to Windrush? It's not related to Windrush. These are people who have been found... Excuse me. No, these are people who have been found guilty of a crime, right? And having been invited to become British citizens, they knew that if they committed a crime, that British citizenship would be put at risk. And that is why they're being deported, surely.
These are people who any ordinary British person, anyone across the country, sat down and had a cup of coffee with, wouldn't recognise the term foreign national offender. These are people who've been here since they were children. These are people who are products of this system, whose entire families are here. These are people who, 32 out of the 26 people I've been speaking to, 32 British children are having their fathers taken away from them.
Well, their fathers are criminals. I mean, you might argue that their fathers have been taken away from them when they get put in prison.
Okay, so you want to live in a world where criminals go through the criminal justice system, they do their time, they do their tariff, and if you've got an immigration offence, you generally do longer than anyone else. But there's no notion of rehabilitation. There's no notion that people can change, or is that only for black people, you think that?
It's got nothing to do with the colour of their skin, Karen. You're the one that brings that up, not me. Absolutely not. No. Here's my. Well, would you like me? Well, would you like me to answer your question?
No. You're going to let me finish. There's plenty.
I'm going to let you finish. You just asked me a question.
There's plenty of white British people out here who've committed exactly the same crimes as those people, who happen to have the right paperwork, who've committed more and worse crimes than those people.
Yeah, exactly. We've got plenty of homegrown criminals, Karen. We've got plenty of people that were born here who are disgusting and disgraceful people who I'd quite like to deport as well. But unfortunately, we can't deport them anywhere because they're not from anywhere else. However, if you want to come to this country and you want to live here and you then commit a crime, I think the country is within its rights to deport you. It's as simple as that.
if there is any notion of rehabilitation and justice, then there has to be a notion that someone serves their time and they have to be given an opportunity to change.
If somebody comes here from Romania,
basic.
right? If somebody
Just
comes here
basic.
from Romania and commits a crime, we are within our rights to deport them back to Romania after they've served their time. I don't see what the difference is.
These are young people who are products of our schooling system.
That doesn't matter.
They're products of Britain. They are as British as the next person. They just don't have the right piece of paper to prove it.
It's got nothing to do with the right piece of paper.
That's a matter of natural justice. That's a matter of real.
So you're
justice.
telling
That's
me
not
that
your
you're telling
notion
me
of
you're telling me, Karen, that all of these people who are currently being deported have got no paperwork because they came here under Windrush. That's not true. Simply not true.
No, I actually didn't tell you that at
Well,
all.
you've just told me these people don't have the right paperwork. That's why they're being deported, and that is not correct.
No. Wait, that you're saying something that I did not say.
You just said it.
Okay. What I was saying, they don't have the right piece of paper. What that means?
What does that mean?
They have indefinite leave to remain. Their families, working class British families. Do you know how much it costs to naturalise in this country? Couldn't afford to get the British passport. All right. These are people who were here legally, who were brought here as children. These are people who
absolutely
and regardless.
But they broke the law, Karen.
But they served their time.
That doesn't matter.
Do you know in Jamaica since 2000, 200 returnees from America and Britain have been murdered. They're particular targets, and if you have a British
it's quite a dangerous
accent
country.
and you're returned,
it's quite dangerous here now as well.
So you're saying that someone for a driving offence, because that's what one of them was, a driving offence. You're saying that
what's
they
the driving
should be,
offence exactly?
You're saying that they
what
should
driving
be
offence are you
sentenced
talking
to
about?
a possible death sentence.
Sorry, Karen. What driving offence?
I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't have it in front
You
of me
don't know.
to tell you the exact details.
Well, you can't tell me something is true and then say you don't know the details. That's not a valid argument. So we can strike that one from the record, shall we?
Okay, yeah, you can strike that one from the record,
Fine.
but this is true.
Your argument is all over the place, Karen. The point is, these people knew, under the circumstances which they were given the right to remain here, that if they broke the law, they would run the risk of being deported. That has now happened, and that's why they're being deported. It's as simple as that.
I spent 40 minutes on the phone last night to a young man who's been here since he was 3, who was cutting up his wrists in the detention centre because he was terrified of being sent back to a country where he's never even stepped foot in since he was 3 years old. And his entire family is here. I spoke to his mum and his sister who said they have no one in Jamaica who can meet him. He's diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And he was taken and put on that plane.
And what crime did he commit?
What
crime did he commit?
It's honestly, it's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant. No, it isn't.
It's absolutely irrelevant.
What? So it's okay for him to commit any crime, and that we should just welcome him back in?
This government is deporting British residents, people we went to school with, people who we live next to,
criminals,
people who we work with.
Criminals.
No, our families and our friends. And if justice is to mean anything, it means that people need to be given a second chance.
What about the victims, Karen? What about the people who were victims of these criminals, right? How are they supposed to think?
These people have served their time.
What about their victims? Are they still serving the time and the damage that was caused by the attack that was made upon them?
That's a problem for the criminal justice system.
Really?
And if the criminal justice system is meant to mean anything, people should serve their time and have a chance to change and move forward with their lives.
Tell me something, Karen. Tell me something, Karen. Have you ever campaigned on behalf of any other group of people who get sent back to places where they have come from because they've committed crimes in this country?
I don't understand the question.
Well, the question is, have you ever campaigned on behalf? We deport a lot of people from this country. I had somebody on here from an immigration group some weeks ago who told me that something like 45,000 people have been deported as criminals from this country because quite often the government gets accused of not doing enough to get rid of undesirable people who have come here from other countries and committed crime. We have deported around about 45,000 people from other to other countries, their countries of origin. Why have you not campaigned on their behalf?
Actually, for years we've been campaigning against the charter flights because they are an absolutely unjust tool. Most of these people were detained just a week ago, and they're given 5 days to find legal advice while in detention to try and get their cases heard and get something done, with computer systems that don't work and a legal aid system that is broken and not enough solicitors to go round. So charter flights are fundamentally unjust. Twain Morgan, the ex-British soldier, he got an injunction yesterday. They still brought him all the way to the airport. This ex-serving British soldier with PTSD, he was brought all the way to the airport. The lawyers had to be on the phone to find a judge who would get him off that plane in the early hours. There's one other ex-British.
He was found guilty of assault, I think, wasn't he? He was sent to jail for assault, wasn't he?
Because he suffered from PTSD serving this country.
What about the person that he beat up? What about the person that he beat up, Karen?
One other British soldier I haven't heard from. I don't know where he is now.
So
a guy. I feel really sorry for you.
Well, it's not a question whether it's okay.
You must live a really sad and isolated life.
I don't actually lead a sad and isolated life at all. I lead a very good life, thank you very much, and I believe in the rule of law, and I don't believe in allowing people who might be dangerous in the community being allowed to remain in it. And if it means that you have to deport people outside of this country because that's where they belong, then that's where they go.
The rule of law in Britain says that if you've done your time, you should be treated with equality and respect and given the opportunity to change.
Unless you're a foreign national. Unless you are a foreign national, which they are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you speak to some. It's one rule for some and one rule for everyone else.
No, it's not. It's not. That's wrong, Karen. There's one rule for
some of those people.
No, Karen. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about.
They are foreign national offenders.
What? Because they speak.
Wrong.
Well, the law may be wrong, Karen. The law may be wrong in your eyes, but the law is the law, and there's no point in having a law if you don't abide by it. And if you want to break that law, then I'm sorry, you should lose some of your rights. I don't think there's a problem with that, and I think most thinking people and most right-thinking people would agree. It's not just losing some of your rights, though, is it? This isn't putting a tag on someone. This is a life sentence for people who. Well, they should have thought of that before they committed their crime. Surely. So kind of every person who has indefinite leave to remain, who hasn't been able to afford to naturalise, they should spend their whole life terrified of being stopped by the police. They should spend their lives obeying the law, Karen. Especially given the amount of black people who are disproportionately stopped and searched by the police, their cars stopped. This is one law for one and one law for others, and it's unjust. It's absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Karen, I'm sorry. I've had enough, Karen. Thank you very much indeed for coming on this show and telling us all how deluded you are, as all of the Twitter traffic I'm getting is saying. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't have enough facts at your disposal. Quite frankly, it's an embarrassment.